get rid of this. Bada boom, bada boom. Okay, so as an engineer, first question: as an engineer, how awesome was Hitler?
Was you gonna do the intro?
No, that was a joke.
I was like, what?
All right, let's get right into it. Hitler, world's greatest engineer. No,
He was definitely not. He might have had some very interesting minds working for him though. He was
yeah,
not. He was definitely doing some strange
he's
stuff.
like the Steve Jobs to all the
Okay,
actual coders, right? He comes in there hollering like, "I want the best tanks in the world." He leaves and they're like, "Well, okay, let's see here. Let's get your drafts in. All right."
right. And superhumans. Yeah,
Super. Oh my goodness, so much drugs, so many drugs.
telling you.
Hitler. No, just kidding.
Yeah,
All right, all right. Well, welcome back to What the Frap. I'm your host Jay Zilla. I have with me today C Dot and Nuke. What's happening, fellas?
What's up?
Not much, not much. What's
Yeah.
going
Now y'all got to reintroduce yourselves with your government names.
on?
Well, I'm Corrin Williams, hailing from Houston, Texas, born and raised.
Tone.
Graduate of Prairie View A&M and University of Houston. Go Cougs.
And I'm Dexter Williams, born and raised also here in Houston, Texas. Went to St. Pius High School and graduated from the University of Houston also. Go Cougs.
All right, man. So, Corrin, we talked to you last time. We're gonna let Nuke take it to
Oh, yeah.
start us off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your vocation, how baller you are.
I don't know about baller yet, man, but I'm trying to get there. Like Corn, I'm an engineer also, but I did civil engineering instead of mechanical. Now I work in the telecommunication industry doing fiber optic placement stuff. And so if your internet goes down, it's probably my fault. So
All right. Well, you heard it here. Anybody having any internet issues, just call Nuke. I'll put his number in
His
the
number
link.
is 713.
It's like, no, 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 no. Oh man. So okay, so we got the boss engineer with the civil engineer. What does your job entail?
Mainly now, well, I don't do much engineering anymore. I just got promoted not too long ago to be the area manager. So I basically tell people what to do all day. That's that's what I do.
Ah, okay. A la Trump. Good job.
But,
That's what I imagined about that dude. He just stomps around and like, hey, can we do this? And people are like, what? He's all right.
yeah,
Thank you. Get it done. And he leaves. That's the kind of leader I picture him as, man. The just get it done leader.
for sure.
Yeah, man. So, what's your last project that you headed up? What was the most interesting thing about that project?
Well, the last project I did was actually all the 5G towers for AT&T in
Mm,
downtown. So that was pretty crazy. So it was, 5G is like the new wave of everything, right? So,
right.
but the entire network in downtown, I actually designed the work for all that stuff for the placement and all that craziness. So
Oh,
yeah,
good. So, how do you feel about causing cancer and COVID-19 with your 5G there?
hey man, if towers before didn't cause that stuff, these ain't gonna do it either.
Does that drive you nuts hearing stuff like that?
It does, man. People just have this stuff, they read anything and they believe it. So it's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I feel like we're all in the wrong line of work. We should all be in sales because apparently, we just tell people stuff and they believe it. So we need to figure out a way to tell people how to spend their money and give it to us.
You just have to say it.
Pretty much.
Apparently, that's
Marketing
how things work.
101.
Yeah.
Show up on a advertisement and say, "Give us your money. You can place it right here."
Use all
Well,
adjectives.
so I'm a Batman fan when the Batman comes out with Patterson there. Pattinson? Patterson. Huh? Pattinson. Patterson?
That's
Pattinson.
the emo Batman.
The emo Batman.
Emo Batman. Hey, lay off. Don't knock it till you try it. I am
Oh.
so excited. Have y'all seen that trailer?
No, I haven't seen that trailer yet. I've seen some
Look
pictures.
at the trailer. Look at the trailer. I'm a believer. I believe in this one. You know,
Hey,
the
I
last,
believe
especially with the last one.
Better than Batfleck. That's what I believe.
Right. Like, how can you nominate? Like, this is the perfect time. Usually, it's like, oh, you want to give it a few years before you're the next Batman because people still remember the old one. Well, this is the one time where it works to your advantage. It's like, who's Batman? Hey, I want to sign up for whenever the next trilogy comes out. I mean, they gave it no time, man. Yeah. So watch the trailer and just believe with me, and then we'll watch it, and then I have to get y'all both back on and tell me what you think.
They need to let the guy who voiced Lego Batman just to be Batman.
Yeah.
No. Only thing I see with him is Arrested Development. I can't.
Hilarious.
He's an idiotic magician, right? That belongs to that terrible, terrible family. Yeah. Besides the voice, maybe he can voice Batman. Like, you know what? That's interesting. How come they don't do that? Like, give me somebody that has a Batman voice, and then give me a smooth, sleek, super intelligent, right, Bruce Wayne. How come they can't just be a dual role?
Like Darth Vader.
That would be interesting.
Like Darth Vader, you're a genius, man. Wow. I'm really happy about that answer. Yeah, that's the one. Pull a Darth Vader. Give me a slim, muscle-bound, athletic, do my own stunts Batman, and they just have somebody who looks like a billionaire, who's super intelligent.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So look, so I'm gonna take that one. I'm taking all the credit.
Yeah, we should copyright this.
Yeah.
Now.
I know. I wonder what how the laws are. Like, hey, we said it back in 2020. Come on now.
Yeah.
Pay us. Yeah. Man, I don't want to get into too much Batman talk. I could do that forever. So let's switch to something more serious. What is your favorite anime, Nuke?
I'm probably like most traditional people, but I love Dragon Ball, man. That's like my go-to. And like whenever Super was coming out, like I went back and watched all of Z. I watched all the movies before, like the Ninja F and Battle of the Gods. So yeah, I was all in it.
What about you, C-Dot? Because that was a trash answer. Dragon Ball Z, man, get the Frap out of here.
Favorite of all time, the one that pops up the quickest is Akame Got Killed.
Akame Got Killed. Ooh, is that with the chick with the scissor as a weapon?
I think so.
It was I need you to know so, boss engineer. You're like, yeah, that's my favorite. Wait, is that the one with the thing? Like,
no. So
maybe.
There's two that sound alike, right? So this one is the one with the group of people. They're like assassins. One of them has like cat paws. There's a young guy that they bring into it, and he's like the central character, kind of, until you get to the end. But yeah, it's legitimate. It's legitimate. They have a character that's who looks similar to the same character that's in what is it called? Kill la Kill or something like that.
Kill la Kill. See, that's too close.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I was like, I believe that's correct.
Is it the one? Well, I'm looking at my producer. She's Mrs. Anime over here. That's the one with the half scissor chick. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Both of them have scissor chicks. See.
See? I told you, like, it's tricky.
Right. Yeah, it is. Akame Got Killed. Okay. Yeah. See, I'm gonna dip more into the old school Naruto for me.
Okay.
Look at producer. What's your favorite one? Oh yeah, Hajime no Ippo. So boxing. Have y'all seen that one?
No, we talked about it last time though.
Yeah, man. Should check that out. That was what in the 80s, end of 80s, early 90s. When is it? When did it come out? Ippo was 2000. Oh, the manga's been going on since '89. Yeah, man, that's some state power.
It
But
is.
and I think that's part of what's my biggest deal with like DC. You know, like don't try to just come in and just recreate the MCU, right? Put the work in, stick to the source material. You know,
See,
take your time and make a good show.
when you go back historically, DC was like the man, in the
Yeah.
government. They're too corporate. So, having no soul is at the core of them. They got a
Yeah,
couple of really good characters that people, stick with almost
right.
no matter. But when it comes down to it, their stories have always been a little bit more predictable. They're a little more dry. You know,
Yeah,
they stick to a formula, man.
not as fun. That is definitely the darker of the two.
Not a
But
good-
yeah, man, it's tough watching anime, and then if you take out all the intro and the mid scenes and the outro and some of the recap stuff, it's about 5 to 10 minutes of good show. And they and I'm telling you, like that 5 to 10 minutes will send you on such an emotional roller coaster. Like, so it's like you had 2+ hours to get Justice League right.
Right.
Come on, man. I need you to do better.
Big facts.
Yeah, big facts,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's-
man. All right, so you two are engineers. Now I asked Corrin this last time. Nuke, are you the type, especially being, with your promotion there, congrats.
Thank you.
Um, when you have the situation where you're just going throughout your regular day, right? And you see stuff done poorly, are you ever tempted to be like, hey, hi, it's Nuke. I'm a civil engineer. Listen, if you just did this way, it'll be way better.
Uh, Honestly, man, I try to avoid all that.
What?
Yeah, man, because people, okay, when you tell someone that you're an engineer, they think you're an expert on everything, right? And you're
Aren't
just
you? Aren't
like,
you?
no, no, no. And so like one time, one of my family members was like, "Hey, my hot water heater is broken. Do you think you can take a look at it?" And I'm like, no, I have no
Right.
idea what to do with a hot water heater. So, but no, I try to avoid any of that stuff, man. And but people like to ask me questions, especially like that building that just collapsed. Off of where was that? I-10. Uh, it was under construction and it recently collapsed. But someone was asking me, what do you think about that? And I was like, wow.
Well, obviously, I would put that brick in a different place.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Are you ever tempted to just say a bunch of gibberish, and they just assume that you're saying something above their level?
yeah, absolutely. Like, just so I can say stuff and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At very
So,
moment, your eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
well, it's a lot easier in the '90s. Now you get those people's like, wait, just a minute.
Yeah.
Like that makes no sense. Yeah, Google was telling me, you know. All right, man. So what about like the protests? You see stuff like the protests and be like, man, let me help you with your structure and your mission statement, and this is how we're gonna get this done. Anything
Yeah.
that big, you look at it and just like, man, I can run BLM so much
Yeah.
smoother.
Sometimes I think about these things, man,
This
and
guy has a presidential platform.
yeah, I do.
Ooh, do tell. Let's get him elected. We need some people.
But I look at all the protests, man, and I was watching something on TV the other day, and I think this person probably wrapped it up pretty nicely as far as like uh, what it looks like to everyone, right? So
Mhm.
the Democratic and liberal and BLM, I feel like sometimes their messaging is too it's very broad, right? People can take it in different ways. And
Mhm.
so, for instance, like let's talk about like defunding the police, right? I think you could have used like different words to get your message across.
Yes.
like, like, like we're not really trying to defund the police, but that's what everyone takes it as. So be more direct in your messaging is probably my life. Listen to all of them. Like stop making up these like random like you know sayings and like oh this is what it really
That can be
means.
applied to
Yeah,
too
yeah,
many
yeah. This is
things.
what it
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, man.
No, just say what it means.
Right. Yeah, see, that's a tough one because I know officers in my personal life. I've had good and bad experiences with different ones randomly, and that's a tough spot. I was talking on my other show about Black Lives Matter. Is it about the branding? Was one thing that's always struck me about some of these, I guess, hierarchies or whatever throughout history is that I don't know. Sometimes it's branding. Sometimes it's knowing who you're dealing with and what you're trying to accomplish, and be willing to give up a bunch of stuff. So one
Right.
of the things I said, like, hey man, do we have any sort of what is it threshold for what we're willing to accept as a group of people, right? In exchange for stop the kneeling and change the name of Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? Like that's some murky waters. And I'm so
Yeah.
sorry to bring y'all down into the muck with me, but it's just us thoughts. It's just thoughts. Look, it's two engineers and just little old me. We can't hurt nobody. So like one of the things was
Let them
like,
think you're not that dangerous. No.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm curious because you see all these people, these groups of people who are like, okay, like old school England, right? You get a bunch of people over to New America from all these different things, and it's the Irish hate the Jews, Jews hate the whatever, you know what I mean? So it's all this, and then at one point in American history, someone got together and said, you know what? We're all white, and here's what we can do for you.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, is there something we can do to get something tangible done? I'm gonna kick it to y'all and take a drink because that's a rough one.
Yeah, that one's pretty tough right there. But I think that how you brought it in my opinion, kind of plays on some of the things that we've discussed and uh, how you go about trying to address that, which is you have to find the commonalities, and we're
Mm,
not going to win on the okay. Well, hey, we look alike, right? Because that's already what's the
right,
problem,
right,
right? But I think you find a lot more traction if you looked at more like, hey, you know what? And somebody's got to lose, unfortunately, right? But when you look at the path of least resistance, you say
right.
we're all, young people who, and I use young, liberally,
Yeah.
Right.
young
Right.
people really care about the direction that we're going. And that way you take all the old people at the top and make them the enemy.
Yep.
Right.
You speak to the bulk majority of the country
Right.
and then call out the foolishness.
Yep.
Oh man, see, and here's the only thing I kind of defer from you, I guess. Um, the calling out the foolishness, man. Like it's one of those things. Sometimes with my kids as a father, it's like, excuse me, ooh, excuse me. So one thing as a father, you're kind of like, oh, I know this is foolishness. I know this is foolishness. Like, but when I call it foolishness now, sometimes I get to like, oh yeah, but like, okay, all right. How about I just try to figure out how to communicate to you? Here's what I want to happen in the future without calling out the foolishness. Is that something that makes any sense?
Kind of. But I think our direction is more like we're not singling any party out as far as calling the foolishness. We're
Mm.
just calling all them foolish. Is what. And so I mean, which is which is probably dangerous, right?
Just a little
Yeah.
bit,
You know,
just a bit, yeah.
but but I feel like especially people around our age, maybe a little bit older and younger, definitely feel as if the country isn't representative of them, right? Like
Mm.
especially we don't feel as if they have our best interests. They don't care about what we want. Everything is just a power struggle right now. No matter what party you represent or agree with, it's just crazy.
All right. Yeah, see, that's a tough one. Let's see. Two engineers and little old me. How do we fix this? How do we fix it? How do we get the messaging out there? Do you think, as a whole, would be willing to get rid of Black Lives Matter as a not as a sentiment, right? Because I think that's a strong messaging, right? But as a organization, like, what would we be willing to accept to just say, all right, the organization is gone. There, you're happy. You had a problem with the name. You had a problem with us kneeling. Okay, we're not gonna kneel anymore. What's the price for that? What
I
would
can tell you exactly what I would say the price would be. The price would be the dissolution and public shaming of the KKK, the Aryan Brotherhood, insert white domestic terrorist group right here.
okay?
Get rid of every one of those public, swiftly, strongly. And I
Legislatively,
wouldn't have any problem with saying we don't need a Black Lives Matter.
right? Yeah,
That would be evidence to me. That would be action. And I think that's the biggest problem is everybody's got words. You know, it's a war of words. But there's not enough tangible action behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all, they're quick to like, oh, this show is offensive, so we'll take this down, or well, or we gotta remove this off this box because that's offensive. Like, that's not what we're asking for. What we really want, you're not giving us. So like, what's the point of even doing any of that stuff? Just to show that, like, oh, we're kind of with you, but only a little bit.
I feel like,
oh my bad.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to throw on. I was going to say at the peak of the summer, when the George Floyd incident happened and people were marching and rioting and all sorts of things were going on, right? The country was in upheaval, and almost like, how many companies did you see jump on the wagon? People was posting black squares, commercials were talking about, we believe that, you know, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, you know, whatever. They was putting it out there. They were trying to say, yeah, we're a part of the solution. Did you see anything actual tangibly come out of that, or did you see like sales?
Sales, or more importantly, the continuous sales, right? I know Targets took a dip after one of those protest situations, right? They saw the people coming, they're looking for some, I guess someone had spread the word that milk helps with the tear gas. And they all went quickly to whatever closest store, and Target was one of them, to, you know, purchase some milk, and they shut the doors, you know. And so, yeah, that was, I get it. You see a big group of anybody just rushing towards you, screaming. Here's a game I like to play. Like, I should not be saying this, but here it goes. Look, nobody's watching. So, so a little game I like to play is like, whenever I'm in my car and I see like a well-dressed, you know, white guy or a young lady from any other race, right? I just lock my doors. There have been some times where I've unlocked my door and like wait till the guy close and just like, and most of the time it's just like not worrying about a thing. But sometimes I've gotten like a wait. They were confused of like, wait, did he just lock his door to protect him? Not me? You know? So that's a little game I like to play. Don't tell anybody. As long as we keep it here on camera, you know, we'll be fine. We're safe.
I love that.
It's not an issue. So yeah, I don't know, man. See, there's so many different kinds of problems, and we're so diverse as a people, Black people, and expand that to any group, right? It's hard to have a sweeping, broad brush type of legislation or anything that everyone's going to agree to.
Yep.
So that utilitarian outlook for me seems to be the best thing, but for other people, it's like, nah, man, you know, frap those people. I'm not caring about anybody else. I'm talking about me and my family. We want this, not that. Get it done. You know, that always exists. I don't know. I guess it's just no hope. All right.
My biggest problem with all of that is you know, to each his own, and I think we almost support that to a fault, because we'll say, well, you know, that person's gonna do what's right for them. Well, that's cool and all until this, you know, the top 1% of the country is doing right for what's for them, and it's at the expense of the rest of the 99%.
Yeah.
Right. Man, when America is at double digits unemployment, right? We'll just say 10%. It's nuts to think about like how we should feel, I don't know, appreciative of that because that means 90% of the workforce is working. You
Yeah.
know, you go to these other countries and it's just awful. I think I was watching like Bill Burr. He was talking about being in India, and he's like,
Mhm.
I saw like a toddler, and just in between two cars, you know, do a number two, and then just walked off, no bottoms or anything, and disappeared into a sea of people, like no parents around, no nothing. And he's like, that's just heartbreaking. And so it's tough to know that that kind of stuff exists, right? But not to, I mean, so that's on one hand, right? But on the other hand, it's like, hey man, I still want, you know, my pay to reflect the work that I'm putting in here, right? So how do we show people that we're appreciative of America and we enjoy it and we're glad for all the opportunities it affords us, while simultaneously, you know, saying, but I'll have some notes, you know? I think people kind of brush off a Black Lives Matter thing. It's like, oh, you just being ungrateful. It's like, no, no, I'm glad to be in America. I just have some notes,
Yeah.
right? I enjoy my apartment, but man, I put in work orders.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So how do we get that type of messaging? Like, what's catchy for the mass population?
Well, this kind of, right when all the George Floyd stuff was going on, I made a Facebook post that I think was kind of online to, what you were speaking of, right? So me, I'm sure, if people look at, me, Corrin, and you, and they probably think, oh, this type of stuff never happens to these people, right? Because,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, look, they got degrees, they do all this amazing things, they go on these awesome trips. They're the
Right.
exception, right? And
Right.
I told people pretty much, I was like, hey man, look, I went to college, I went to private school all my life. Like I have a privileged life. Like it's not I'm not afraid to say that. But
Mhm.
even with that privilege, there's people out there who look at me like, that's just another black dude. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that, right? They
Right.
don't that happens to, you know, those same things could happen to me. Like and they have happened to me on maybe a different level or different scale of, some other people, but I've had experiences in my life, and I feel like sharing those things with people who aren't black and their friends, I feel like it kind of puts it in perspective for them.
Hmm. Do you feel like because black people are good about, you know, keeping things at home, right? There's a statistic out there where um, it looks like in other races, domestic violence is worse by the numbers. But then on second look, and I mean, I should probably have all this stuff cited. You know, you two engineers, you're like, where are your reference points?
Well, you
I
definitely
saw
know
a thing out there.
when you publish this, somebody's gonna be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just
You
making
don't know what I'm talking about. Right, right. And I can't say Google anymore because you can just go. I mean, it just depends on your searches, right? And maybe if you disagree with me, you can pull up everything to make me sound super wrong.
Right.
So, but there's a thing out there where it's basically the women in our community are more afraid to report that to authorities because of the distrust that exists between our community and policing, right? Like, you know, look, I just want him to stop, you know, putting his hands on me. Like, I didn't have to rough him up and shoot him while he was handcuffed. You know, like that's a real fear out there, and we have I don't know, man. That's a lot. But the fact that that's even a thing that, you know, I'm being abused and I'm afraid to report him because I don't know what they're gonna do to him. You know,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
rough.
And that's another thing. I feel like um, that situation that happened in Central Park where that lady called the cops on that guy who was bird watching.
Hmm.
I feel like that's like the epitome of like when people say what is white privilege or something like that. That is like the epitome of what that
Mm.
is, right? So it's just like
Yeah.
you Like you have the ability to weaponize the police against me just by saying a black man did this to me.
Right.
Crazy. It's wild.
I wish people had like a video game mathematician type eye, right? All we're saying is that two people walking, one has a bigger chance of being looked at as dangerous or causing a problem
Mm.
than the other one. And that's what the privilege is. It's nothing to be like. I even hate putting, like people say, white guilt. And it's like, it's not even about that. I just
Yeah.
want you to just simply understand that we're on different playing fields,
Right.
And I love my friends who, whenever we're out together and we're in a situation, and they're just all oblivious and like, what was that about? And it's okay, have a seat. Once upon a time in America, it happens a lot. And my favorite group of friends right now are the ones who are in what do you call it? Not blended family, interracial relationship, right? Where I had one guy we were talking on this show actually, and he's a white guy married to a black woman, and just some of the stuff he deals with now that he would have never would have thought was even a thing. And I said, that right there is how, like, I wish you can encapsulate that and put it out there so everyone can see, like, this is what I mean by white privilege. It's not that I'm upset at you, right? I'm just saying there's a difference, and I like it not to be. And not for me, at least for my kids and the kids growing coming behind them. But I don't know.
Yeah, privilege has become such a scary word for people to use because of just how polarizing it's become, right? You got people argue against anything you have to say just because you put the word privilege in there now.
Man, I think Republicans need to put out like some sort of digitalized what is it, master class on how to market your message.
Yeah, man.
They've got
quick
it
and easy, 3 words, easy to chant. Like,
I am
on it
with the stuff that can be said, and people just be like, "Yeah, that sounds right."
That's it. Yeah, it makes sense to me. I watched that first debate. I haven't watched anything since because I was just so disheartened. I was just like, I can't watch this shell of a dude go against this Neanderthal. Like, I just can't. For my own sanity, it's best that I just don't watch anymore. But watching how I was trying to look at it through a Trump supporter lens, it's tough. It's tough. But I got plenty of people who I've known. I try to listen to them, and I kind of took it as like a little project, because I'm a nerd like that. And so I'm watching it through my Trump support, my MAGA eyes, right? And just seeing sometimes how Biden would look and like, oh, come seriously, that's what you believe? It was so condescending.
Yeah.
Like, and so now I see both sides. Like, on the one hand, it's like he just said a fact. Like, Biden just said a fact. And Trump just flat out was like, nope, not true. So what, how? Don't tell me how is it not true? How's it not fake news? What? We're not having a conversation. You're just shouting things.
Yeah.
So I understand the frustration of that. I understand the other side is like, oh, look at him, know it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do we fix that?
Oh, well, you got to get out of the idea. I mean, I don't know how we fix it, but generally everybody's got to get out of the idea that this is some sort of popularity contest.
Yeah.
Right. We're not trading in like, well, I like this guy because he seems strong.
Right.
Things that they argue about and debate about, right? Their positions from a presidential standpoint in that office, they don't even have the power to influence directly. You know what I'm saying? We get riled up about conversations that this person can't actively do anything about, not by themselves.
Right.
But, the things that do matter, the issues that you would like to know about, that's the ones where you start, and I guess it's just a general politic thing, but everybody be like, well, they'll either just start talking about something else. I wear a mask because, or switch gears and just, or be like, I can't talk about that at the time. I'll have to, cross that bridge when I get to it. Speaking of
why are people angry about not having to wear
Oh
them?
my goodness.
Because they have gotten so good at politicizing anything.
They're so angry. It's like, you remember that sign that said "No shoes, no service, no shirt, no this"?
Yeah, yeah. This is un-American. It's against my constitutional right to be naked.
Yeah.
My money spends like any clothed person. Right, man. Like
Yeah.
even with this Black Lives Matter thing, it's like, well, if you say that you're racist, it's like, what? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I look. My favorite comparison is to cancer, right? You having a breast cancer, fundraiser, and someone bursts in, "Oh, cancers matter. You're not being fair to colon cancer," and and just go through the long list of cancers. It's like that doesn't happen. I don't think that has happened once. I think it's happened exactly 0 times, right? For you engineers out there, there's no 0 point any exactly 0 times that has happened. Why is this any different? Here's one of my favorite things, man. People are talking about the NBA finals, right? And look at this court, it's trash, I hate it. It's like the basketball court. And so I
Yeah.
looked at it and they had like painting on one side, one team's color, other team's color on this side. You had the Larry OB trophy, right? A weird YouTube, whatever. And then big letters across one side, Black Lives Matter. I thought, I've never really heard this debate before of how trash the championship court looks. I'm trying to figure out what is it about this court that's upsetting people so much.
It's the stuff like that that makes it hard to be like when a person shares their opinion with you like that, like, it just sucks. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
I'll never watch it again. You'd be like, you're making it difficult for me not to think you're racist, right?
Right. I want to believe in you, man. I want to believe in you. Yeah. Yeah. And then get into the whole stats and all this, well, actually, black people kill more, but like, stop. What are we doing here? You saw the video just like I did. We were
Right.
both agreeing that, that's the one thing too. People who make that switch, like, oh, that's horrible. That needs to stop. And, this is garbage. Like, yeah. And then 12 more examples pop up, and it's like, oh, y'all just blown out of proportion. It's like,
Right.
what happened? Who got to you? Come back to reason. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I like this idea of rebranding Black Lives Matter. That's the marketing side of me. It's like, man, what could we say?
You
Like,
should
how
do it.
can we pull how do we make that difference? Like, Nation of Islam or Nation of Islam ideology versus, Martin Luther King civil rights, right? To where he's putting in, let me get you poor, um, the sanitation workers, the union workers, all let me just group everybody in together. So maybe, he seemed to me like a real politician.
Now
You know
you
how
got to
you
be
have one of those
doing that because you see what happens when you
yeah,
start doing things that are going to lead to tangible change.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
RIP doctor.
Yeah. You said.
Right, man. But that's nuts when people start making sense. I saw this little cartoon, which we need to bring back more political cartoons, man. I miss that. Um, where you so it's a bunch of people kind of looking down at their cell phones, and then a couple people, like, it's all like, if you look at it like grass, right? The top of their heads, everyone's looking down on the cell phone. That's the even grass. And then you see a couple people who kind of like, wait a minute, racism still exists,
Yeah.
but then on top of that, you see someone with a lawnmower, like a group of people with lawnmowers, and coming to, cut all of that, you know, those
Interesting.
heads who are quote unquote woke,
Yeah.
right? Like anybody who pops their head up from their cell phone and gets away from the messaging, the mass messaging,
Right.
we gotta get rid of them, man.
Right.
Like, oh, there goes another one. Let's cut that down. Yeah, I don't know. I like stuff like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, man.
That makes you think.
Stuff that makes you think.
Not enough of that going on these days.
Well, yeah. So how do you fix that? Because even like traditional education is kind of under fire these days.
That is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I think. Well, I mean, it all starts with our education system, right? Like,
Yeah.
feel like, especially here in Texas, I don't know about any other state, but here in Texas, you don't. I feel like they don't teach you to critically think about things at all, right? They teach for the test that you have to take, and then that's it, right? And so I feel like one of the benefits, from me and Corrin, we both went to private school for high school. I feel like the benefit of that was they didn't have to, you know, teach us stuff based on this test that we had to take at the end of the year, right? It was just here's my curriculum. It's gonna be hard. I hope you're ready for it,
Right.
and you're gonna have to do it.
Yep.
And you either sink or swim. That was the thing, man.
Sink or swim. So that's got a special, place in my heart, a phobia of mine. I'm one of those statistics. Now I can technically swim, right? But if you do it more towards the educational side, not every. So how? First, let me ask you guys. So y'all okay with the idea that not everybody is supposed to go to college,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There are some trade schools out there. I mean, and they make pretty decent money too.
Yep.
Your pipe fitters, your you know, I don't
But I
know.
have with a caveat.
With-
The caveat is that not everybody is supposed to go to college. I'm okay with that. And not everybody needs to. But everybody does need to be equipped up to the point where they would decide to go to college. Like,
Ooh, well, they're
equipped
able
for
to.
life. Need to understand what taxes are, why that would be relevant to you. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
basics,
Right.
or what I would call basic now. But if you asked me about that back then, I'd be like,
What I got no.
who cares about taxes?
Who cares about taxes? It ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
I worry about that once a year and I go on about my life.
Yeah.
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 What are the pillars of just a basic real education? I mean, not beyond the STEM or STEAM fields. We're throwing art in there now. So beyond the STEAM fields and literacy, like what are the things we need? Like, what is it? Financial literacy. I mean, give me your bullet points of if you guys know how to do boom, 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 we're gonna be okay.
I feel like they should probably bring back like home ec classes for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Mm,
Right. I mean, the basic necessities of can I cook a meal for myself if I need to,
yeah.
right?
Right.
And maybe like a wood shop class or something like that. I think
Mm,
that's good because a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
that I know how to fix or build is something that I had to experience on my own. Right. I didn't have that option to learn or even think that I might be interested in something like that unless I was exposed to it by someone else. Right.
mm,
So I think one of the main things about a decent education is just being exposed to as much stuff as possible.
Yep.
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
Whether it be, science, math, some theater stuff, and, all the way down to getting to, use your hands and build something. So I think exposure to different things is the best way to go about
Yeah. I'm working with a guy, excuse me, right now who we're kind of thinking about I don't know why I'm on this like rebranding tip, but rebranding blue collar work, right? Blue collar work 2.0. We were talking about different shows out there, especially, people of color, where you would showcase them in different jobs, right? Living Single, one of my favorite shows from back in the day, right? You had the lawyer, you had the person who just decided to start their magazine, you had Overton, who was a repairman, like all these different, showing us in different positions,
it.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just entertainment, it's not just
Sports.
gang life, there's other stuff out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would you guys rebrand that? Like, how do we make blue collar work cool again?
You definitely have to start by, you got to construct a story around it and
Oh,
to change the title of that story. Blue collar work isn't sexy. We live right now in an environment where, you know, not even, it's tempting to say kids, but people don't have a long attention span.
Mm.
They're
mm,
moved more by imagery than by words. So you have to create a visual story that tells not only the necessity of these positions, but the beauty of it, the results of it. You got to get right to the point.
Yeah. And I think Corrin and I we did um, a career day for middle school.
mm,
Uh, and I think especially young kids, everybody wants to know the first thing they want to know about what we do or what we did was how much money you guys make.
Yep.
So I feel, I
That's
feel,
well, hey
I,
man, what kind of bread you got?
yeah, I feel as if some of these blue collar positions they make a crap ton of money,
Yep.
Yeah.
make more than I do, and I feel like that has to be within the branding also, right? Like, hey, this is the type of lifestyle you could live if you did this trade.
Mm.
So I mean, there's several directions. One, you gotta, like I said, expose people to that, and then two, show them how much money you make. It's like, hey,
Sorry, man. I'm gonna show you this one time. All right, gather around, gather around. Boom. Okay, so you got to read and study. Right?
And
Yeah.
this is taking where we're at and tying it back to kind of where we started. 3 subjects that are completely necessary for all, like, I think if we're going to try and empower the masses, right? And that is investing, uh, entrepreneurship, and logic or critical thinking or something like that.
Mm. Investing, does it have to necessarily be the stock market, day trade, or are we talking like just simple as possibly just saving?
The broad expanse of investing. It could be just saving. It could be just knowing about different financial instruments. So when you start talking about like 401ks, IRAs, all of that kind of stuff. It could be physical investments, like real estate or somebody's tangible business. But it could also be non-tangible. It could be like e-commerce. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's a whole broad scale of things that fall under the scope of investing. But in general, I think most people would probably do a lot better in life, no matter what they decide to do with themselves career-wise, if they had some understanding of what investing was and how it could be done.
Mm. That's super important, man. And I know banks. I know Wells Fargo, but I know there's other banks out there. They have this program where they teach people of all ages, how to balance a checkbook, how to, all these different skills, right? These financial skills. Yeah, man, that'd be really good. How do you make that? Here's the rebranding thing. How do you make that seem, one, more realistic, and two, like you said, use your word, how do you make it sexier? You know, like how do you get these kids off of like, hey man, I play 2K. So yeah, look, I mean, literally the game now is like you can go through as your own player, and how you spend your money, how you build your house on there, like all based off of an NBA career, right?
Mhm.
How do we draw some of those kids or people away from that line of thinking into something more tangible?
I think you got to do it in little bits. I mean,
Little
you can't
bits.
compress all of what we just talked about into something that's going to be quick and effective, right?
Right.
Chop it up, and then you start at the end, not the beginning.
Mm.
So you start with the house, the car, the boat, whatever the scene is that that will really capture them. They'd be like, oh, like what's the same thing that draws them to rappers or online influencers or any sports people?
they see the end product, right?
The end product.
Show them what they're looking for,
Right.
then bring them back.
Man, that's good. That's good. So what do you say to somebody like me who's just, so I'm trying to like overhaul myself, right? Jay Zilla 2.0. I'm like, how to frap, what the frap am I gonna do? You know, and what I found is discipline is a huge issue for me individually, right? Um, so how do we get that message out there? Because here's one thing I'm trying to impart on my kids now, which is it's the pain of discipline versus the pain of regret, right? And it's those two things you're like constantly fighting with. Yeah, you may not feel like XYZ, but you're gonna regret not doing it later. How do we really sell that type of message? Or is there a better one out there? Put your two engineer brains to work here.
Got one on that? Because that's a hard one right there.
It is
That's
a hard one.
that's the whole catch, is trying to sell somebody young and in the moment now, how the importance of investing in your life down the line.
Yeah, because like even even, when we were younger, I mean, we seem like we appear like as young, we had our life together, right?
But not.
We did not. Right?
But we did have people who forced us to do things, whether we liked it or not.
Right.
And honestly, man, I think that's probably the biggest thing is somewhere, it doesn't have to be necessarily your family. That's just who we had, right, as our driving force, right? There was an expectation. Like, I feel like if you set that expectation and, don't waver from that, like, this is what I expect from you, right? And so, and just, so that up front, do whatever you got to do to meet that expectation, or, these are the consequences, right?
Look, I'm gonna clip that out and play this for my kids. Oh, just on a loop, like, hey, it's not me. Listen to Nuke.
Yeah.
New educational series coming soon.
There you go. Professor Nuke, I like it.
Yeah, man. So like, I think, and and I feel like that's something that other races like have been doing all along anyway. Like, hey, these are my expectations. Know what it is.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So if you're not with the program, then your life is gonna be rough.
Yeah. That's a very good motivator.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend, man. So I'm from Tennessee. They're in Columbia, Tennessee. It's a very small city, as CDOT can attest to. Not much going on, right? Or not much to do. Um, and one of the things you look around when I came back, there was a lot of construction, and the kind of the beat down, worn down buildings that I'm looking at. You see a lot, it's starting to kind of revive itself a bit, which was encouraging until I asked, people who are still living there, like, hey, what's going on over there? My old neighborhood, right? What's going on over there? And he was like, man, and look, I need to preface this with, like, it's not a racist thing, just it's just the race. He was like, well, Mexicans are buying everything and putting in all the work in themselves. And I was just like, what? So what they're doing is that whatever the asking price is for those old condemned buildings or whatever, they're overbidding for one, getting the property, and then they all have their own licensing, and from carpentry to electronics to just everything top to bottom, rebuilding it, and they're selling it back to, I guess, the city or whomever for a bigger price, kind of flipping properties.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
just thought, like, how can we do something like that?
We absolutely can. But you
Yeah.
look at a group of people, I mean, and Dexter said it, I mean, he kind of, took us down this road, but in general, there are other cultures that do this very well. And that is, they know the value of a dollar. They're a little bit less independent in the sense that like everybody has to be an individual and have for their own. No. They're a little bit more family focused, group focused.
Community.
Everybody will build towards the same plan so that everybody can win, right? And you'll see people come here, first generation, 2 or 3 families or generations of a family living in a single house, and all their costs. Everybody's maybe working, what would be considered low dollar jobs, hard manual labor, but they're pooling that. And, my experiences down here, and I've done a little bit of dabbling within real estate, and on many occasions here in Houston, what I know is that if there's a decent, property to invest in and it's coming up, if you don't get to it quick enough with the right kind of money, it's highly likely that a Mexican family will show up with cash, take it right off the market.
Yeah.
And I can't knock them for it. It's a beautiful thing. I wish I could say Black people were doing that, or else for that matter, but it's definitely something to learn from.
Yeah. I think we've kind of gotten to an environment where, like, the word gentrification is a bad thing, right? Like, and my thing is, the communities that like our parents grew up in, back in the day, they were thriving Black communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one day I said to them, like, what, like, how can we, restore that? And the simple thing is, we can gentrify our own neighborhoods for our people.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's nothing stopping us from doing that. It's just people don't want to do that. People see the lifestyles out in the burbs and things like that, and they go, "That's what I want." But in reality, you could literally have that same lifestyle in the city if you just take what your neighborhood you grew up in, buy some property over there, build a nice home there, and then next thing you know, property value goes up. Next thing you know, your schools get better. Next thing you know, your roads get better, and next thing you know, the things that are available to you in your community also get better. But no one pouring those resources back in.
Yep.
And no one cares.
And we don't just preach this, we actually live it,
Mm-hmm.
because the current house that we live in now, we live here because we pooled our resources.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, yeah, we in our 30s. People don't have roommates in their 30s,
Right.
not typically.
Right.
We were like, okay, but if we do this, it's in the area that's, got a rapid rate of property valuation, and it's up and coming, and everybody wants to be in it. And we found a house that's under the market value for the average. Yeah, let's pool our money. Let's go live there for a year or two, and then let's get some tax-free gains out of it and go buy a couple houses.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think the biggest thing that prevents us from doing is the lack of trust, right? You look at big banks and investments and all these different things. Even your situation of pulling your resources together for a common goal. How do I trust? Man, Nuke ain't about to pay his part. You know what I mean? How do you build that kind of trust?
Generally, that can be difficult, right?
Yeah.
But where you have less trust, I feel more like this, right? It's easy for me to work with somebody who I absolutely don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Almost easier than family.
Yeah.
And because with zero trust, that's fine. I can fill all the gap that's missing from trust with contracts.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to perform what you say you're going to perform. The contract will determine what happens when you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Contracts, man. The whole goes deep. Everything that is a thing, right? Everything somebody can get paid to do, almost everybody should know a little something about it.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have to be it shouldn't be your area of expertise, but you should know something about it because it probably affects your life.
Man, well, I need to. I just need to read more. That's what it comes down to. That's good. I can fill in any of the gaps of trust with the contract. Yeah, no, is that too big for a T-shirt?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, man. I don't have to trust you to get the contract. Look, I'm already working on it. Okay, all right. So let's switch gears for a minute. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, who's the greatest?
I'm gonna say Michael Jordan still.
Oh wow, I didn't think he was gonna say that. I thought he was gonna say LeBron James because I'll be quick to be like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say that because of I feel like without MJ there wouldn't be LeBron, right? So I think that's the only thing I'm really holding over LeBron's head, right? Like your entity as far as like who you are exists solely because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, the conversation is almost evidence of it is of MJ being the best in itself because the comparison
everything he does.
Yeah. Well, the comparison is always, oh well, are they better than Michael Jordan? Yeah. Or I bet you they're better than Michael Jordan. Like he is the standard.
Yeah.
For considering the greatest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I like Comey a lot. And then I feel like it was Bill Burr who was doing one of his bits is about how Michael Jordan came through and just erased everybody else. He said no one was saying the next Bird or he's the Magic Johnson of anything. He just came and wiped all those other dudes out and just became an entity.
Yeah.
Right? But how frivolous is this debate? My goodness, man. What are we doing? I'm so sorry. Look, I keep bringing y'all. Look, I keep bringing y'all down into the mud. You can't let me do that. That's a trap question. It's a trap question. Like, hey, let's just enjoy who he is, man. Because one, we didn't, especially you two engineers now, we didn't put any parameters up, and like, so what are we actually comparing? Like the best as far as what we talking about? Jump shot? We talking about points, titles? What are the parameters, right?
I tried my best to avoid talking about any of that stuff. In my answer, I don't know if you realize that
Yeah.
because they're two different basketball players, right?
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah, I couldn't. I don't think you can compare them basketball wise. Now, I feel like if you're trying to find someone who is who is the best all around everything player, and I would say LeBron, right? Because he can
Right.
guard five. His vision is ridiculous and stuff like that. And MJ didn't guard 1 through 5.
Right.
But I would never say that MJ is not a is not the best.
Right. Yeah. So here's my debate I got with a buddy of mine. It's like it's one of the poll questions from my other show, which was black people, are we allowed to down LeBron James in public? Like this thing of like this dude does how much in the community? He's been with, one black woman for how long? Like his kids are all doing pretty good. Like with no real guidance, someone just handed him a bunch of money and then he made it work. He don't have any scandals out there. Can
Right.
we just save it for the barbershop? Like maybe in passing, like, man, LeBron ain't nothing, but like I need I need us to dial down the LeBron James hate publicly. That's it.
I,
That's all I'm asking for.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. He does
And
too much. He's too much of a positive figure to be like, man, he ain't nothing. He's a big crybaby. It's like, okay, all right, don't tell other people that. We need as many positive examples out there as possible.
yeah, but
Yeah.
that's the man. That's honestly, that's I feel like that's a huge problem with our community in general, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
somebody else doing good, you'd be like, oh dang, ain't all that. They think they cool. You're just like, why?
They
Right,
doing
right.
You happy for me?
Oh my goodness! Like, oh, you went and got a college education now. You think you all that now? You done changed?
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm in my 30s. I should change, right? If I'm doing the same thing now as I was doing at 17, 18, I would hope you would check me on that.
Yeah.
Nah,
right.
you keep it real, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Dave Chappelle had that little thing where keeping it real goes wrong.
Yeah.
Oh man, bring back the Chappelle show. I don't know how that even work in today's time, but yeah,
Man.
it's desperately missed.
Yeah, he's almost immune to all that stuff, man. It's kind of crazy how he's like, I'm gonna just say what I want to say, and y'all can either
Right,
like it or not like it.
Yeah.
right. So Twitter is a global thing. Will you look up how many people are on Twitter versus world population? Thank you so much, producer. You're so beautiful.
Wait,
You're
what?
so beautiful. I know. I'm talking about producer here. Look, so here's one thing that I've been like screaming from the mountaintops. I think what Dave Chappelle did was expose that the people who talk on social media is a very small group,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right? You look at his Netflix specials. Whew, he did not care about what Twitter said. Everyone was running from Twitter and Facebook and all this cancel culture thing, and he just
Right.
looked it right down in the eyes. And was like, "Look, here's what's wrong with white women." Like, whoa, what?
yeah,
What? Who else in the world is allowed to do that, man? That's why, like Bill Burr, when he was doing all this talk about, like, hey, you sit down and get your talking to just like me. Talking about the times, like, how angry white women are now. He's like, hey, you with me? Don't try to lecture me on how horrible I am with my male whiteness. Got it? Oh,
uh,
good. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's one of his. That's first of all, talk about brave. Like I don't know if it's brave or just like I live on the farm in Ohio. I don't know what it is, but I think he really did expose that. Like all of these people you hear chirping in the media and on Twitter and Facebook, IG, all that stuff. Like there's so many more people that agree with me. And to be able to perform under that guise is that's genius, man. It's a
yeah,
comedic genius.
it's wild.
Yep.
It's wild, man, and it's like, and it's cool, man, because I feel like every generation has that one comedian that can that takes it almost to the edge, and and you're just like, what? And it's definitely a privilege, man, to be able to see, Dave Chappelle, man. Like, sometimes I wish I could like go back in time and like watch like Richard Pryor or something like that, man, back in the
Yeah,
day.
man. Well, it's called YouTube there, Nuke.
Yeah. Now come on. As
No, I watched some of this stuff and I'm just like, what was he saying?
like no, like
I didn't even believe that.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Been sitting in the audience,
Like living in the moment. Like it's totally different.
Oh.
We
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to
you're right. I'm sorry, Nuke. I'm so sorry.
we're living, in the era of Dave Chappelle. Like I think it would be cool to be like in that era, like living, like experiencing someone like Richard Pryor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I like hearing when they anytime you have like a group of comedians doing something where they're talking about comedy, right?
Yeah.
Um, them talking about how the comedian's job is to find the line, toe the line,
Mhm.
deliberately cross it, and to bring people back over to the safety
Yeah.
zone, right? Just
Yeah.
keep doing that throughout your entire show. Like, yeah, man, I can't believe it. Cross the line on purpose, make it funny, and then bring them back to like, that's not what I really believe. You know that, right? Yeah, man. So I'm looking at this, and this is Twitter. All right, so 330 million people on Twitter. That's a lot. That's a large sample size, but not compared to the 7.594 billion people on Earth.
right?
Right.
That's nuts. That's 4% of the global population.
Right.
That sounds
How much has 4% of the global population canceled and told the rest of the world that this is allowed, but this isn't? You know,
yeah,
that's nuts. So
but
I
that's
think him looking at that as a comedian is just like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna talk to them. I'm gonna talk to the others, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's just
man.
an extrapolation of like how things usually go. I mean, especially for like Western culture, right?
Right.
The small group controls everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is what's so wild about relationships ending, right? Romantic friendships, family, whatever, because of those people who are at the top telling you how to think and what to believe, especially
Right.
about the other side.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like, come on, man, we got to be better. We know that they're all like ultra rich, who are probably doing and saying things for their own ulterior motives, right?
Right.
Redundant, own ulterior. Told you I need to read more.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, yeah, man, how do we get past that? Like, okay, I hear what they're saying, but let me just sit in my little corner over here and think about how that actually applies to me, one way or the other.
hmm
How do we get that message across? Come on, engineers, give me something.
Well, that message is asking a lot.
That is.
That message by itself. Like I said, I mean, I think your better questions were before the ones before where you were saying, okay, well, how do we get people to think more critically? How do we
Mm,
impact education? It's all those little things that
yeah,
eventually comes up to somebody who, they can hear the BS and look past it and say, this isn't going to be good for everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
the best thing I've heard in a while on how to approach different people was like I said, you meet people where they are, right? So I think it's his take on perception is reality, right? If you truly believe that President Donald J. Trump is 100% honest about everything he says, let's explore it. Tell me about that. Meet people where they are. I know it's a tall order, but I think that's something we really have to do. Like, this is really your perception, okay? And then have that conversation on that level,
Yep.
right? And just really try to understand that side. I've been accused of, or not accused. I do this thing where I'll try to understand people by just asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy, like for us as black men specifically, right? Or let's say BLM, right? For us to ask the questions about policing and stuff, and people get upset about that. Like, how are you mad at the question? I'm not saying like burn everything to
No,
the ground and give
driving
everything to
all
black
of,
people.
yeah.
I asked the question, like, how do we get to this anger spot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I on my Facebook not too long ago, I started seeing a whole bunch of uh like pro Confederate flag stuff.
Mm,
People posting whatever. We need to keep our monuments, heritage, not hate, whatever.
mm-hmm.
Fill in the blank, something, right? And it's funny because majority of this was coming from like the moms of the people I went to high school with,
Yeah.
which made me have a whole like reflective moment and be like,
oh no.
I wonder what they thought about me back then.
Right.
But so it prompted me to put a question on my Facebook, and it wasn't directed at anybody specific, but it was like, for those of you who, you know, are in support of the Confederate flag, can you help me to understand what, you know, why you're in support of that and why and what is so good about it? You know, beyond the fact, you know, like I want, you know, something a little bit more tangible, something I can sink my teeth into and really understand outside of just like, well, my great grandfather was in the Confederate Army, you know, because that's not gonna, for me, that's not gonna cut it.
Right.
And that was basically what I put. It was a lot more simple than that, but I don't remember the words. And I got a lot of responses, but almost none of them actually did what I was asking them to do.
Oh yeah. That's easily done, man. I put the Confederate flag in the same boat I put Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions.
That's a good place to put it, actually. That's an excellent place to put it.
You know, it's one of those things I'm like, why are you still a fan of it? Now, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I feel like I can speak to this. And my fellow Cowboy fans out there, like, why? Why? What just keeps us in? I think a lot of it is just nostalgia and, you know, allegiance and this identity politics type thing, right? Cowboys are just my team. I support them good, bad, and other. They're like a family member, right?
Yeah.
How many people who have family brothers and sisters who are just like, oh my goodness, you're just not winning at life right now. But you know, I still love you, right? Well, I don't understand, like, to be so attached to a loser, you know? Like, you know what that flag meant? They tried to break away and make their own country. There was a war and they lost. Why are we still clinging to these things, you know?
There's so many like different directions you could go with it, that like different paths of questioning. And that's one of my favorite ones to go back to, which is, in how many countries in the world, you know, do you have, you know, some sort of where there was a handover of power or a civil war of any sort, and the loser is even mentioned,
Right.
much less heralded as some sort of like honorary, you know, position.
Yeah. This is a part of my culture. What?
No,
What's
it's
a
not.
part of your culture? Like, no, your culture is America.
Out when they were
America,
done.
you're on the winning side. This is America now, right?
My favorite thing to compare it to is this, like, especially when it comes to like the statues being taken down and all that stuff.
Oh, the statues.
I usually you know bring this up. I'm like, okay, so you want to keep the statues so we quote unquote remember our history, right? And I was like, how many statues of the King of England do we have left?
Oh my goodness, that's perfect. Look, my producer's just like, why don't we do that with the British flag, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How many people got British flags on their porch? Like, it's part of my history, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's some parallel thinking right there. Good job. Good job. You don't even know Nuke. Look at you. I keep getting the like, look at the camera. Don't look at me.
Will you focus?
But she's in the room. Dave Chappelle said that when he was shooting this show, he said it's hard not to look at the people in front of me for the theoretical people out there. You know, I'm working on it. I'm just a baby. Yeah, man. Well, that's a good point. Like, where are all the British statues, you know, King George statues? Like, who is really telling that?
Yeah.
You know,
Nobody.
and someone did, I guess, suggested that we just take all the statues. Like, don't tear them down. We just remove all the statues and we place them in like a statue cemetery. You can go and just, almost like Arlington Cemetery, right? You just go and give reverence to, like, man, General whatever Confederate guy, right?
Those things.
That was my great granddad. All right,
Yeah.
and then move on. You know, why is it such a big push to, like, I want you to respect and honor it too? Like, no, they're losers. Get out of here.
Right. Not only are they losers, but their ideology and what they were fighting for directly impacted people that look like me and my ancestors.
Yeah, man. Like, what? Like, right. And be offended that you get the side eye. It's like, man, you know what that is standing for, right? Like, what? It was an economic battle. It had nothing to do. Like, what? We were the economy. What are you talking
Right.
about?
You're like, oh no, it was about economy. It was like the economy of free labor.
Yeah.
So Columbia, Tennessee, its nickname is Muletown. There's a celebration that happens every year. It's called Mule Day, right? And you celebrate, so back in the day, it used to be a kind of like a festival of sales, right? So you come and you show up and you have a little parade or whatever, and then you sell your property. You may have a cow, you may have a couple of mules, couple of horses, and then a couple of black studs. Like that's a real thing that is still celebrated today.
One of the biggest celebrations in Columbia, Tennessee, if I remember correctly.
Probably the biggest. I can't think of what's better. What's bigger than Mule Day? What is bigger than Mule Day? Right? Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy to even think about it. People, we look forward to this every year. With some people, but it's just like it's such a like nostalgia is a powerful drug, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how powerful it is. I just sat through yesterday Demolition Man. Do y'all remember that movie? How like does it hold up? No, but that nostalgic drug, like I could feel all the endorphins opening up. I was like, yeah, get them. Oh, let's go slide, get Phoenix, right? And after it was over, it was one of those like shameful things. I was just like, what would I do? Man, that's an hour plus that I could have been doing something more productive. That's horrible. I just sat through the entire Demolition, like not just, oh, that's a funny clip and then move on with my life. The whole movie from beginning to end.
Oh, man.
Such a shameful thing. So if I feel like that about Demolition Man, I couldn't imagine, about some other stuff. All right, all right. But okay, so we talked last time, Nuke. I'm not sure if you watched or not, Nuke, but we talked last time about some things that happened in Corrin's career where it was just like this little game we play with, would this have happened if Corrin was white, right? Essentially. I didn't pose it like that. Sorry, Corrin. I didn't pose it like that, but what are some some real situations for you that you were kind of looked at differently or, thrown a curveball that shouldn't have existed just, based on your race alone?
Like in my career or just
Yeah, career.
my career? Uh,
He's like, man, I've lived a privileged life. I don't know what Corrin on.
my career situation is kind of a special one because I got the job because of my fraternity brother. His dad was the regional vice president. So like I basically walked in and he was like, "You're an engineer," and I was like, "Yep." He goes, "When can you start?" And I was like, "Okay." And because of that, and because of my my relationship with them, like I never really had to. I was kind of safe from everything, so I never had to deal with any of that stuff because like people like I would probably do something wrong and he would like leave Dexter alone. I'm like, okay, cool.
Oh man.
So my
privilege exists everywhere. I don't know,
yeah.
Corey's probably looking at you like, what?
I knew it.
So yeah, so I don't think I've had really any hiccups as far as like career goes. I mean, the only thing that I probably would say is, in some situations I probably felt looked over maybe. And I don't think that my race in this particular situation had anything to do with it because my boss was basically looking out for his son. His son worked there too, right? So right, like take care of your own. So I was like, yeah. But I taught your son everything he knows. So
right. Oh, good. Oh man, see, and so that situation right there, that question, completely unfair for you. Sorry, Luke. But one person has, well, because I was black, or it had the appearance of my race being a hindrance, right, for this person. Whereas Nuke, yeah, I got no problems. That's how diverse we are, just as black people, right? Like, so looking at the United States as a whole, how can you make a sweeping, broad, stroke with any sort of policy or legislation?
Well, just for me, just because it hasn't happened in the workplace doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Right.
So I know the feeling, I know the sentiment, like I know what
Mhm.
what it feels like, but it's just in that particular environment, in my work environment, is never played a part in
Yeah.
what. So like I feel like any legislation that benefits, our community, I'm all for that, right? Because I
Mhm.
know what it's like, you know, just not in the work environment.
Yeah. I like the comparison stuff. Corrin, I'm watching you on Facebook, man.
Oh
Steve
yeah.
Dot plays this game of like, if I was a surgeon.
Oh, you saw my social experiment.
Oh my goodness. I laugh like, if I didn't like it, just know in my heart of hearts I did. My wife and I do that often where we're just like, if a surgeon leaves a tool inside of you and it causes your death, are they gonna just get transferred to another hospital? Like all those little comparisons you did, I was just like, oh man. It felt remnant of y'all remember the movie How High?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's just like, get him. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like you're a hype man, like just alone in my room, just like, yeah, get him, Corey. Yeah, what you got to say about that?
I was particularly proud of that, and I had been stewing and thinking about that for a minute, just because of
Mm,
how things had been going. And the big question I kept asking myself was, how, like, all of this seems real basic to me.
mm,
And for those of us who, kind of share the same affliction, I guess, or the same interests, it seems like it's very basic to all of us. But what I struggled with was I couldn't discern what the disconnect was, right?
mm,
So I started asking myself, how do I get someone to see the same logic that I'm seeing
mm.
without triggering their, like,
The
racist bait,
auto response, right?
right, all of that. And so I don't know, it just became real clear to me. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna start posting these, because in these scenarios, we're talking about people going to jail, people losing their job,
Mhm.
people losing their livelihood
Mhm.
because of the mistakes they made. And I do believe that, particularly, I was aiming that around the Breonna Taylor thing. The problem was, or not the problem, but the beautiful thing about it was applicable to so many situations we've seen
Yeah,
lately, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Uh, but when you look at a scenario like that, I have a very difficult time processing that you can see police who had bad intelligence and went on an operation. They got to the point of executing an operation based on bad intelligence and going through with it. And then someone died who was not a criminal whatsoever. That to me is the definition of some sort of negligence,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right? And whether a person goes on trial for murder or not, they should be held accountable and probably held to manslaughter at the very least,
Yeah,
because their actions directly led to this woman's death. And she was convicted of zero crimes other than sleeping in her own bed.
right,
So yeah, all of that is real crazy to me.
right. Like
I couldn't
you
imagine
can't.
any scenario where somebody busts in my house without announcing themselves
Yeah, man.
and they not be met with slugs. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that at that point, in my mind, whoever you are, I'm trying to protect me and the people in this house from you.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And there's so much. I mean, like you said, you can put that in anything. We have all these laws against DUIs and drunk driving. You can't say like, well, that's the nature of being impaired while driving. And just
Right.
chalk it up to all right, got to move on. Stuff
Yeah.
happens. Operating a vehicle is very difficult. I mean, people don't really understand. You know what I mean? Like all of this different, these auto responses that they have.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I really.
How hard it is to do the job of a policeman. I don't. I don't. But I believe because it is a hard job and you are charged with upholding the law, you should probably be held to the highest accountability of that law.
Yeah.
Right.
Any small amount of training I've got is anything that is discharged from your weapon, you are responsible for, right? But
Right.
I was actually surprised. I mean, can you really be surprised in situations like this? I don't know, but I really felt like somebody was gonna at least be the fall person, right? A lower level, someone somewhere along the chain of command, someone was gonna take the hit for this.
Right.
But for nothing, for anybody, that was tough to see.
What blew me away was they had the gall to convict a dude or charge a guy based on the bullets that didn't kill somebody.
Property damage.
That was the
Yeah.
core. That was just, it was like the icing on the cake. I was just like,
Right.
wow.
You're in trouble for hitting some drywall. Meanwhile, a civilian, right? Nothing. Yeah.
And it's
This is
so
all
easy.
bad.
It just rolls off their tongue so easily that, you know, oh well, that was, you know, that's just a result of collateral damage
Right.
of an operation that's been happening in the first place.
Yeah. I would argue.
Talking about charging you three, we should be talking about charging whoever said you three sent you three to go do this.
Right. I mean, at the very least, you can't go on in this profession. Like, I would argue astrophysics is a pretty difficult gig, right?
Mhm.
And I guarantee you, somebody who worked on the Challenger project isn't working there anymore. So
Right.
they pinpointed something that somebody did not do right, and I guarantee you they won't be working on the next spacecraft, right?
They likely at that point were no longer working within the industry.
Right.
Right, right, man. So yeah, I mean, athletics, people are getting cut all the time. You know, engineers. I'm sure y'all. I mean, does that keep y'all up at night? I was like, man, wait, let me look at it again. You know, like Corrin, I was talking about the what's the from the engineering Bible, measure twice and cut once,
Uh-huh.
right? Like those are the things that you just keep you up, make sure like you check, double check, triple check, quadruple check. You know, and if you mess up, like I'm sure y'all are gonna be like, "Hey, man, this is a tough job. Y'all have no idea the hours I put in designing this. You know, it's the nature of the job. Let's
Yeah.
move on and let's see how that works."
Yeah.
You know,
No.
right, right. You know, and I wonder how do people this messaging thing that politicians do, how are they able to get people to stop thinking like the regular worker they are and to think on their level, right? How do they get people, you know, on board with this messaging to say that like you get up and go to the same job, do the same thing, get paid, you know, you're part of the wheel, right? How do you get people out of like stop them from thinking about their actual job and responsibilities and start thinking like me? I want you to just say what I say and feel how I feel and think like I think. Like, how come it's not more of us, you know, common folk, right, kind of banding together versus at each other's throat based on something some billionaire saying?
That's got to do with history, man.
Yeah.
History.
You know, they playing on. It's not even that they're creating new things;
Yeah.
they're playing on old tropes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
The playbook's
like you
been
said,
written.
nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
Is a very powerful drug.
Yeah.
Well, if I can come back and throw something at you that your grandfather taught you and your daddy taught you, and you believed all your life, well, now I'm almost like one of your family members.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. You know, my dad, you know, told me, especially when all this stuff was happening, he was like, he's basically said that the playbook's been written. He's like, they have the manual, you know, it's, you know, it's nothing new, just maybe it's slightly different words to, you know, coincide with the time that we live, but ain't nothing different. He's like, they just, you just turn to page 12. Ah, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
How to disenfranchise these people. Got it.
Oh my goodness. Like one of those call centers, the script, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, are you interested in like, no, stop calling me. Okay. What did you think about? You know what I mean? It's so,
Right.
they got every scenario mapped out, man. But it's so overt. Like with all this, you know, with social media, one of the good things it can do is shed some light on it. And it's really hard, at least from where I sit, it's really hard to look at stuff and just be like, hey, this thing doesn't match what they're doing over here. What's the
Right.
problem? You know? But you still have so many just willfully ignorant people who are just like, nope, what he said was right. Yep,
Yep.
my side versus your side.
Right.
You know?
Like, oh, you're taking it out of context.
Right.
That was obviously a joke.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I wish I could play that card and it worked. Are you kidding me? Didn't I tell you to do the dishes? Like, what? You know, I mean, back in the day, you know, you got your mom like, didn't I tell you to do the dishes? Like, you know, well, I did do the dishes. Like, I'm looking at the dishes, they're not done. Oh, no, you're taking me out of context. See, you told me to do the dishes, and 2 weeks ago, I did those dishes. The problem is today. You know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're not even making it that far in your explanation, man, before you get jacked up.
Hmm.
But it just feels like we're playing on, you know, about two sets of rules. So how do we? I don't know. How do you infiltrate that line of thinking, right?
That's the challenge. That's the homework, man. That's if we knew that answer, we wouldn't be where we're at now.
Right. All right. Let me throw you an easier one. How do we get people to vote?
You get people to vote. I think a lot of the people who don't vote, you have to be able to give people the feeling that their vote means something and
Right.
that they're not just choosing between bad or worse.
Right.
And I think that goes across the board, right? That's no matter who you are.
Yeah. I think it's education, right? Going back to, you know, local, state, so on, so forth, midterm elections, all of that stuff. How do you get people to see the big picture, right? You're voting for this person because, you know, you wanted him to do X, Y, Z. Now, this person, if you vote for them, they're going to allow the first person to, you know, to uh, to work and you know accomplish what they promised, right? And then so on and so forth. And how do you look at this? Like I feel like we're playing checkers, but it's supposed to be chess, right?
Right.
We got
Yeah.
checker level skills, but we're playing chess.
Mm.
How do we get people to see the big picture? Like, yeah, your vote may seem like it does nothing. Well, here's why, right? You go every 4 years and vote for one person.
Right.
That's not how you get something done.
Mm.
No.
You know, you look at Obama's terms, man. It's just brutal, brutal. Like losing the House and the Senate is just like, oh, well, what do you expect was going to happen? You know, they're like, oh, he didn't get anything done. It's like, are you kidding me? All that stuff he tried to get through, right?
Right.
And just complete shutdown.
Mm.
No real precedent, no viable reason why. Just like, no, we're gonna table that for now. Like what? I got 3 more years and we mean table it. You know, this Supreme Court stuff, like, I, it's
Oh, that's the
just
crazy
so,
part. Yeah.
yeah,
Like
man.
I knew as soon I was so I don't know. I had mixed feelings, but I was just in shock because I was like, oh man, now he's gonna have the opportunity to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's like being given the piece. Like I already knew before he got there.
He got the
You
last
know,
Infinity Stone.
right? Exactly. Like 2 months.
Look at this.
2 months ago, when we first started hearing about how there were concerns about a ballot, uh, the ballots and the elections being fraud coming
Mm,
from the same people who we were concerned about, right?
yeah.
Soon as I started hearing that, I was like, oh, he's already lining it up,
Oh
you
my
know.
goodness.
And when RBG passed, I was like,
Yeah.
because even if none of that goes down that way, right? Ultimately, what will probably happen if Trump doesn't win the election is a circus that will
Mm,
stall any actionable, useful legislature for months, if not years. And
yeah.
that worst case scenario for the United States, period.
Right. So when you hear Dr. King's widow, when she was warning against, who's the little guy? What was his name? The AG before this bar character.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. I
what's
feel
his
like
name?
his middle name was Beauregard or something super southern.
Alabama. What's his name?
Jeff Sessions,
Oh,
Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions. Man, I love, like, if you're gonna use Hussein for Obama, you gotta use that dude's full name. It adds
yeah.
a bit, it adds something to it, doesn't it? A little texture, right? It's just like, who are you saying? Jeffrey Sessions. Like, oh, okay. But
Yeah.
Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions, like, oh man, get the lawyers out. But her warning that said that he did more with a pen than the Alabama Sheriff's Department did with dogs and water hoses. Like, how was that not just to like, what?
Yeah.
You know how? I mean, they muscled right through that, and I feel like we were in a time. So back when Bush and the whole 9/11 thing happened, like I don't mean to make that sound small, right? It's like
Yeah.
the whole 9/11 thing, right? But when 9/11 happened, and he's presenting to the Senate, like, here's my evidence, here's why I think you should vote to go to war, and they voted against it. And then he decided to somehow go around that strategically, and they kind of rebranded it like, this is police action. We're there to support, an
Mm.
allied, blah 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 blah. Right? Like, this dude went to war without, having Congress on his side,
Right.
which is not allowed.
Yeah.
But even then, they had to put more effort into it, right? Well, it's police in action. We're just there to serve as security and help train them, right? Meanwhile, you're dropping bombs and all this stuff, right? Um, the fear for me now is that how overt they are, which is saying, yeah, so
Yeah.
Right.
the president gets impeached, is
You're
like,
like,
and
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
them even saying like, we already heard what we need to hear. We don't have to have a real hearing over the impeachment. Like, what?
Yeah.
So you have to make a decision, and you're saying to us that we don't have to listen to the witnesses.
Right.
Right.
That was eye popping. So when RBG right dies, were y'all like me? Did you have like the after effect, or was it just right away apparent? Right, I was like, oh man, can't believe she died. Oh no. Like it hit me like, because it was a person first, like, oh man, she died. Oh,
When
and
it
then that
happened,
after effect hit me of like, what? And a lot of people are saying like Roe v. Wade and all this stuff, but I'm with you. Like, just them being able to push stuff back that doesn't forward their agenda, right?
Yep.
And kind of strong arm the other stuff. And then who's supposed to be watching whom, right? When you have, if he gets control of the House and maintains control of the Senate, and he's got the courts, like, you seen him with a split Congress.
Right.
right.
This man got impeached, and they were just like, yeah, and what? So what?
Yeah.
Like, what happens now when those people, when it gets out of the president's hand and out of Congress' hands and has to go to the court? Like, it's just more of the same. Like that,
Right.
that's concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to work on a dual citizenship for me and my family. I'm
Yeah.
thinking Australia. What about y'all?
And I've looked up a couple of articles. There's some there's some countries that are out there saying, we got our doors open for you.
Oh man. Well, I know it's not Europe.
No.
This pandemic.
I did see one of them was a guy who had moved to Germany.
Mm.
And though there were some ups about his move there, it still wasn't. It was like he traded one set of bad for another set.
Ooh.
Yeah, but it was different, and overall, his quality of life was okay. Like, he didn't have to worry about walking down the street and being considered like a criminal instantly.
Mm.
So, like, that type of feeling, he was glad to say that was different, right? But
Right.
there was still racism or nationalism of other sorts.
Right.
So,
Yeah, man. Homegrown, man. You can find that right here from town to town. I'm sure there's, you go in one neighborhood and you're welcome, and another, you go to the next neighborhood, is like, hey, where you from? What you doing around here? It exists everywhere. Should we exist in our house? What are y'all doing in my room? Get out of here. My kids are like, wait a minute, you're not an adult. Get out of my room.
you're like,
What are you
hold
doing
on.
in here? Right. Only people 30 and older allowed in here. Yeah, man. So look, I want to circle back to something, because we kind of breezed over. It's very important. Demolition Man.
Demolition.
Oh, it's so horribly wonderful.
And,
Y'all remember that one?
yeah, I mean, there's a couple movies I think you look at it and you're like, why did I watch this? But I'm gonna watch it again. Demolition Man is one of them.
Yeah, man. I was talking to my buddy on the other show. We were talking about Sister Act 3 that got greenlit.
Sister Act 3 got green.
Sister
What?
Act 3.
Why?
After almost 30 years. It's
Why?
coming. I don't know. I mean, out of material, and you don't want to give. We can't have too many Lovecraft countries out here, right?
Yeah. Why is everything a sequel now? Like, I feel like the ratio of sequels to like original content
Yeah.
changed dramatically over my lifetime.
The sources are out there, right? The source material is out there. But I mentioned Lovecraft Country. That's I don't know if y'all watch it or not, but I got mixed feelings about it. I really
Yeah.
like what they're trying to do. I enjoyed most of it, but man, a couple of those actors, just bug me. I am not a critic or classically trained actor or anything, but some of that stuff just feels so overacted. It just
Yeah.
takes me out of the moment. It's like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, nobody believed that. You didn't believe that, you
Right.
know. But yeah, so the sources. So I think it's one of those, and this is just a theory. I don't know, but it feels like the things that worked before. Okay, we'll let you, revive that, versus giving a chance for all these writers out here, all these different novels and sci-fi books, everything. Right? Like I said, there's plenty of source material out there, but what they're willing to gamble on is pretty narrow. But yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
what
probably.
holds up for y'all? Because Demolition Man does not hold up, but I still enjoyed it.
You
Right?
find that when you go too far back, not much holds up. I
Yeah.
mean, this culture has shifted,
Yeah.
but
No.
Uh oh.
Disney movies
there you go.
hold up very
There you
nicely.
go. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Wait, what did Nuke say?
Say Disney movies, they hold up great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You can
Oh, okay. Hold on.
at any
Okay.
time.
All right, producer. Wait a minute. We're gonna get a lady's opinion here. Give me the
Uh,
top three that hold up. Shawshank Redemption. Oh,
Okay.
that holds up. What else? No pressure. Gladiator. Yeah. Yeah. I can watch that again. Uh oh. Oh, Colin First, Pride and Prejudice.
Oh.
she's so serious.
Yeah. Oh man, listen, and this is not just under the threat of like I may get something thrown at me on camera, but yeah, I agree with all three of those, man. Pulling at my heartstrings over there.
Very good. Very good. Killed your husband.
No, I'm feeling emotions. Yeah, man. Ooh, Shawshank Redemption. That's such a brutal movie.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I'm gonna have to dig that one up. Um,
King of,
Luke, what did you have there? I feel like
uh,
he had some
like I'll go back right now. I've been taking my girlfriend through watching the Halloween series all over.
oh yeah.
Like I will dig something up and we will go back and we'll watch the first version of it that came out in the 1970s and it will be horrible.
It's so bad.
Well, that, again, nostalgia, right? Something about those movies that still, whatever you felt then, right, still gets worked up for you. Like, I still have troubles with Teen Wolf for about 0.7 seconds, right? So that was the first thing that I was allowed to watch, we'll say. But just in your mind, you're building up like, ooh, werewolf, ooh, I'm thinking Teen Wolf is gonna be the scariest thing ever. And then, after you get past it, like, what is this? What's happening?
Right.
But I still feel that same whenever, because I've not gotten through it, but I've gone back to watch it a couple more times or try to, or at least start it, right? But as like credits are rolling and it's beginning, I'm just like, ooh. And then it hits me like, oh no, let's change it. I know what this movie's about. It's not scary at all. Yeah. So y'all
Yeah,
like horror films?
I like all sorts of films, but yeah, horror is one of my genres.
Yeah. What about you, Nuke?
I'm more of a, action comedy type person.
Yeah.
I'm I'm a sucker though for rom coms though. That's kind of weird. So like my guilty pleasure.
Hey man, don't let him laugh at you. Listen, I'm right there with you. Well,
Yeah.
give me your top three, or just three that you like in general.
Uh, Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That was a good one.
Yeah. No, you can't be a part of this. C dot. I heard you laughing. Don't try to jump on board now.
Hey, just because I laughed doesn't mean I didn't watch it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Virgin was a good
All right.
one.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Give me two more.
40-Year-Old Virgin was a pretty good one to me.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's another good one? Uh, Man, now I'm like digging in my bag here. I don't know. I can't think of the third one.
Man, so I'm more of the sappy rom coms, right? They barely classify as rom coms, but anything with like Hugh Grant, like I love some Notting Hill, love Actually, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I'm stuck with you, man. I can't mention too many more.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, Hitch was a pretty good one too. I enjoyed that.
Hitch, you know what? Hitch feels like okay, not a personal story, but it
Yeah.
feels like yeah, I definitely would have been the more of the Kevin James character than the
For sure.
Will Smith.
For sure. For sure. He was having.
But even Will Smith, look, I had a moment when I first saw that when it flashes back to him as why he even started this whole enterprise, and he's just like, why? Just tell me why. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know this guy. Okay, here's some money. It's like, oh, it's like, okay, you know. Oh man, I'm just glad I don't have to date anymore. Whew.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Thank you, because man, let me tell you, I couldn't imagine, especially all right, pandemic, this crazy, the political landscape, right? All this stuff that's mashing together. How do people date? You know, it's nuts.
No.
It's scary. It's scary out there. And I know C Dot got the lady there. What about you, Nuke?
I'm single,
Oh
so
man, I'm so
You're
sorry.
dating expert. He's
Are you
got it.
okay?
yeah. I don't think I'm an expert. All right, it's just weird out here in general. Like without all the crazy stuff happening, like it's weird being free and trying to date people. Like
Oh man.
my problem is I don't want to take the effort to have to like get to know somebody new.
Oh no.
You're like, oh,
You flipping through the catalog of high school,
you're like,
oh, they were okay.
what's your hobbies?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Right.
We have that in common.
What do you do now? Is it like a questionnaire that you just format beforehand? All right, I need you to fill out these questions, right? What's your political affiliation?
Yeah. Like, and
Thoughts? What are your thoughts on
it's
saving?
they dating apps save you from a lot of that now. You have like a list of like things you see already, so you can look and be like, oh, nope, so oh you do this for a living? Nope, don't want to do that. No, it's like you can already like filter out all the ones you just don't want to talk
Yeah, but here's the thing, man. You got two things working against you there. One, people are bad communicators.
to. Yeah,
Two, people are really good liars.
yeah.
You know, oh, this is so rough. Like, there's this thing that exists out there, Wheels' law of communication, where essentially it's whatever you can misunderstand or whatever can be misunderstood will be misunderstood, right? And so that coupled with people trying to just put the best version of themselves out there, right, on the market, as they say.
Right.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
I
Whew.
mean, honestly, I mean, that's what not only in the dating app realm, but that's social media in general, right?
Yeah,
Like everyone, especially Instagram, like everyone's putting
yeah.
Oh
their
man.
successes and the best version of whatever on Instagram.
All these filters.
I mean, no, that's not true. Everybody's always traveling on vacation every week, every week, and no one's ever gained any weight. So
Oh my goodness. I'm currently trying to like revive mine, man. Because a lot of people, this line of work are like, yeah, that'd be fun. Like, what's your IG? He's like,
Yeah.
I know it starts with a J. You know, I had to like even on Twitter, like my original Twitter, because I've been off it for almost a decade. And my original Twitter, like I guess it had been hacked, and whatever hacked me was doing got me booted off of Twitter. Like this account was closed because of blah blah blah. I was like, what? Like my sister was like, hey, were you trying to look me up on Twitter? She's like, yeah. And she sent me a screenshot of what it said, which was the same thing. She said, what you do? Did you threaten the president or something? I said, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was hacked. But
See?
so just trying to revive all that. And I posted a picture on Facebook. I got my hair down, right? And it's just
Yeah.
looking, like I don't know, buckwheat before, after the after picture, right?
Oh,
Where are they now, sort of thing. Right? And people were like, man, like my father was like, man, you could be putting that stuff on social media. I was like, why not? Why not? Like, does
Why
everything
not?
have to be pristine and filtered? I said, I
Yeah,
refuse. I refuse.
stay authentic, stay you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Don't.
see, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And I'm sure there's, there's a correlation between my freeness and 12 followers, but but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy. Like I did one where I was like, "Hey, good morning." Rest of the house, like a Facebook live, just randomly. I just felt like talking, and I literally got on. And was like, "Hey, Facebook, I just feel like talking," and I just started blabbering for like 2 minutes, and I was off. Man, people were like, "Hey, man, you can't be up on there on your robe," and this is. It's like, get out of here. I do what I want.
Hey, look, those 12 followers you got, those are quality followers.
Quality, right? You love me for me, and I thank you.
Stayed your phone even through your absence.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm gonna recycle this question. I really like this question. Um, this is for Nuke, and I'll tell you, C dot my answer. If you are a car, what car are you? Let me preface that with, uh, you went with Corvette, right?
Mustang.
Mustang. Sorry, Mustang. Right? Nice to look at. It can perform. Like it's a good car. I opted for a clown car. Right?
It
You see it
was
roll up, and it's like, is that even a car? And then you see people unpacked, and it's a lot more inside the car than meets the eye. Right? I try to get, I try to make it work to make it sound okay. Right? 6 of my followers hated that. But so Nuke, you are a car. What car are you and why? Go.
Let's see. I would probably say that I am maybe like a solid, I would say like a Lexus, right? Like a solid
Ooh.
vehicle, fun to drive still.
Mm.
Not too flashy though, right? You don't look at a Lexus most of the time and be like, oh,
Yeah,
right? But,
classic,
but
classy.
classy car,
Yeah.
still fun to
Okay,
drive,
I
and,
like it.
and calm. I'm really just just smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing. See, Dollar, is he usually smooth sailing?
yeah, he's pretty smooth.
He's pretty smooth. Okay, all right.
I
Well,
don't get too riled up about much, right?
uh-huh.
I try to stay level headed most of the time.
Right.
So I'm
That's right.
trying
I'm
to
gonna, I'm gonna hack your account and just post a bunch of MAGA stuff. We see if we can't get you to crack.
think.
I feel like the Joker. Like everyone just needs a little push.
Yeah,
If MAGA doesn't do it, man, I don't know what will.
like get some block.
That's funny, man. Oh my goodness. Speaking of classy cars, like this thing with, who was it? Cardi B, getting from Offset. I guess it's her now ex.
Mm.
Getting a, huh? They're back together. I bet they're back together. She was his ex at first. Or no, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, whatever. But he bought her, I guess, for her birthday, a Rolls Royce,
Mm.
Mm.
and I thought just like, I don't see how like people like, I don't want to say like us. I don't want to put you engineers down or anything, but people like us with a Rolls Royce, like why?
Yeah, I have a big problem with Rolls Royce. Like, I mean, I get that like it's become a real big thing, especially because of the imagery used with it and music videos or whatever all the time. Like even as far as when we were growing up, right? It's associated with wealth. But the problem I have is if I was gonna have a Rolls Royce, I'm definitely not driving it.
Right.
Like, I'm
See,
gonna be in the back.
right. If you don't have a driver to come with that Rolls Royce, like, what are you doing with yourself? Well, you just gonna be driving around the Rolls Royce like, hey, what's up, man?
Being the driver.
Right.
Oh, just it's like, man, like, oh yeah, that movie, Wolf of Wall Street,
Yeah.
Mm.
right? Well, he has the line in there, something to the effect of, the reason why he basically cheats people, right, is because he knows how to spend their money better than they do. I thought it's such a gangster line, man. It is such a gangster line because man, when I see purchases like that, I'm like, yep, he was right. He was right. What are they doing? What are they doing?
What are they doing?
All right, exactly. All right, man. Dude, I don't know. I like this new guy. Am I breaking fourth wall? Am I don't. What's the sign language?
You definitely breaking some wall.
I'm breaking some wall. I like to look. If I could, she would just be my partner in crime on all this stuff, and I try to like rope her in. And she's just like,
You need to just add the second cam. You know what I mean? Like have her in the picture in picture window.
I wish you could see her facial expression as you said that.
That was like
Oh
a
my
no,
goodness.
never happening.
What is he talking about? She about to counsel all three of us right now. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Shots fired. Pew, pew. Okay, I'm sorry. Just leave me all out. She said that she's a Maserati. I can't afford her. Ooh. Oh
Wow.
man. Oh, truth hurts. Truth hurts. No. A Maserati. Oh man, that gave me chills. Oh my goodness. See, I need to rethink this clown car thing.
You like so do y'all like park in the same like next to each other?
We can't. She's making me park around the corner and walk to the house, right? And if you can't adhere to those rules, she gonna change the gate code or something. I don't know.
She makes walk in through the back door.
Yes. Yeah, man, look, if I could have a back cave scenario, whoo, how cool would that be? Like it's just the back of a mountain or something, and I just drive fast enough, and only my car is configured with it, right? Like old school Batman.
Yeah,
Remember, like Michael Keaton Batman. You remember that
yeah.
back cave entrance?
Oh man, that was sick.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I was with Vicky Vale. I was like, oh, it's just Batman doing Batman stuff. Good job.
Yo, they need to bring back the Batman theme song.
Yo, hey, can you bleep him or something? Like, I gave him all kinds of compliments, and he came at me with the original, like Adam West Batman.
Yeah, man.
Adam West Batman.
That was a
Man.
time in life right there.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I thought you were smooth. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Look, I love picking y'all brains about stuff. All right, so I'm not sure how to approach this. Let me see.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, because okay, there are a couple of things that I'm not allowed to talk about. You know, i.e., Hitler, right? Look, I'm not. I'm not. So I've looked into a bunch of stuff, and the more I find, it's like, huh, interesting, but not. Look at the camera. Which camera? Not in a way that I'm saying that he's awesome at all. Oh, am I drifting? Okay.
That's a weird thing to say. But I'm following. Come on, keep coming with it.
Well, I'm telling you how I'm not allowed to, ask questions or say things like, you know what? What y'all think about the NBA Finals? Oh man! Look, y'all aren't on location, which I absolutely hate. I wish this pandemic thing gets taken care of because I like feeling energy off of people back and forth, and so let me try my best to describe the heat I felt from this side of my face. It's like, who opened up a window last July? All right. Okay, I'll get on.
Look, she tries and tries with you. I just don't.
know she tries to domesticate me and make me a presentable, person, but I don't know why I keep fighting. Yeah, but no, like we've talked a lot about this BLM thing and voting and just a wide array of things. What's one thing? This is for both of you, and you can go in turn. What's one thing that you're telling somebody right now? Like, if you're not doing this one thing, start doing it. Hmm. See, that's a lot better than Hitler talk.
Well, I feel like probably if for any individual in general, right? I feel like knowing yourself and investing in yourself are probably the things that people don't do, right?
Mm,
I, and I think I want to focus more on like knowing yourself, right? I feel like people, you know, step outside themselves to portray, an image that they think that everyone else would like to see them as, right?
mm-hmm.
But, you know, simply being yourself and knowing yourself, knowing, what your limitations are so you can, improve yourself in this aspect, or knowing what you're great at so
Mm-hmm.
you can, like, again, like invest in yourself in that aspect. So I would say that, if someone came to me and was like, I need some advice, what's something I should be doing right now,
Mm-hmm.
those are things that I would probably tell them: know yourself, or get to know yourself, and invest in yourself.
All right. Good luck, C Dot.
I'm glad you led because it helps bring me directly to what I
Shake something loose.
so my one piece of advice for anybody would be don't shy away from the hard things. In other words, uh, don't give up on something or not start something because it's going to be difficult or it's going to be something that involves more from you than what you usually have to give. Because a lot of times, in whatever it is you're applying this to,
Mm-hmm.
the life you want, the level you want to achieve, the steps that you want to get to are on the other side of that.
Oh, man, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. See, I'll let both of y'all go first because what that shook loose for me is discipline is the precursor to freedom, right? And that I was listening to Mike Tyson, man, talk about his original trainer and how he kind of brainwashed him into saying like his way of thinking, right? And his way of thinking was you do the things that you don't want to like you love them. And I
Hmm.
thought that's a tall order, man.
Yeah.
That's a tall order. Like the mundane stuff of just chores and whatever is on your schedule there that you want to just kind of get out the way so you can get to the things that you're really passionate about and really enjoy doing. And in those things, I'm sure with you two is true as well. It's the you like that grind, right? Sometimes it's the build up, and then once the project is over, it's like, oh, man, it turned out well. I'm proud of that. But that
That
grind,
is always real. Like I like that part for sure. That's
mhm.
usually what'll even push me to keep going or to even to get into it in the first place. Is like I know that the moment's gonna be good.
Yeah, man. Like the brain is such a remarkable thing. It can be tricked into doing a many of things. And kind of the path that I'm on now is trying to figure out how to kind of reprogram and not the brain being the terrible master, right? But the brain doing things and working for me instead of me just being subjected to whatever it wants to do, right? I can get to some very caveman ways, and so trying to figure out how to kind of force myself to do all the necessary things in order to get to somewhere I want to be, man. I'm really working hard on that mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
So y'all be sure to check in on me. And see,
Yeah.
Dot, you keep on. Look, first of all, Nuke, you keep being smooth. I really appreciate you doing this with me. C
Yeah. No.
Dot, you keep on with your social experiments. Just know if no one in the world is enjoying it, I'm enjoying them. All right,
I appreciate that. I do.
no problem. So I'll let y'all have last word. Anything y'all want to promote or get out there to all 12 of my followers, and we're a small army. We're small but mighty.
That's all you,
Anyway,
man.
Oh, that's all me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we last talked, I've launched my photography business,
okay.
um, C. Williams Photography. And that's just going to be, the brand that I'm rolling with for now as I develop it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm really aiming to do is I'm aiming to focus on social branding photography. And that's really
Ooh.
kind of supporting all these online influencers, entrepreneurs, people who need an online presence in order to support their objectives of their business.
Mm.
I want to build a photography business that sole objective is to help you tell a story, to help get your narrative out there in a way that's visually pleasing, and partner with you in developing those stories in a better composition.
I like it. I like it, man.
So
Anything, Nuke?
when I do get to that point where I think I'm ready to go full on out, I'll have a whole nother brand coming soon.
Okay. So give me the DBA again. What you're working on now?
C. Williams Photography.
C. Williams. You didn't go with C. Dot, man. With the government initials, man.
When you look at the icon, though, the logo is CW, so that's C. Dot right there. That's it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, man. Make sure you send that out to us too. Before we get out of here, Nuke, you have anything?
Nah, I just want to say that I enjoyed doing this, man. It's my first podcast ever.
Oh.
So
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, man. I look forward to doing more of this stuff for sure, man. This is a cool thing.
And I told you that we have a whole circle of engineers. We can set up a camera in a room and get him some real interesting characters.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Oh man, see, all right, I'm down with that, especially with this Zoom, what the kids call the Zoom. Yeah, man.
You notice every time I'm about to leave, I always throw you another idea to get back on your show.
No, look, I appreciate Nuke, so you bring me some more Nukes, man, and I'll be grateful.
Definitely.
Yes, sir. But I'm telling you now, Nuke, though, in my heart of hearts, I desperately want you to say, like, nothing really going on right now. Got a couple things on the fires, but ladies, I'm single and ready to meet.
Hey, throw it out.
Shout out all his profiles. Like, there you go.
I mean, on social media, that's cool too.
Throw the socials.
My IG is complicated, actually. My IG.
An engineer IG. Here we go. All right. I'm about to put some subtitles up.
No, yeah, probably. But my IG is Dex_Dexter with the A at the end.
Of course
Let's redo that. Let's do the subtitles and you just say it's Dexter.
Yeah.
Hey, Dot, you're gonna have to just.
I'll send you a list.
Yeah,
there you go. I'm about to say we'll put it up under his. All right, man. Thank you so much for joining me, man. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. I appreciate you.